everyone. Hmm. Welcome back to Legal Drama Updates and True Crime. Nice to see everyone. Hello, Always Grateful, Autistic Shield. Hi, The Turtle Moves, Mr. Malian, Luke Manal, Grace Case. Nice to see everybody. Um, Today we definitely have a doozy. Um, every time I post that I'm going to talk about this case, I get so many warnings. Oh, I understand that Scientology is a hot mess. I get that. And I understand that they're awful to people that really come out and force against them. But since I'm not really out there big in media presence, I don't really think I have much to worry about. I've done this several times. I'm not going to shy away from a legal case just because it has the word Scientology on it. And this is so interesting. We've covered it from the start. Uh, we've followed quite a few of the motions. I reported on it about a month and a half ago when they were going to, they lost a motion in their court case. Scientology did. Basically, this case right here that I'm covering on the Scientology end is being presented that Scientology is being sued by the three accusers of Daniel Masterson for allegedly rape and assault. Okay. The rape and assault charges are criminal charges that the LA County court system the prosecutor has decided to go forward against Daniel Masterson on. And we're going to update on that also today. He is facing trial in this October with the same three accusers, of course. Now, the accusers then filed a civil suit against Scientology and Danny Masterson in the church itself for inhibiting their ability to come forward and go to the police in regards to the allegations of rape. It's an interesting twist because they use the court documents kind of in both cases, pro and con. Okay. Scientology lost a motion when they actually put the contract forward that all Scientologists sign that says they will not go outside of the organization for any arbitration or anything, that they will report everything that happens to them, whether they think it's wrong or right, to their own system internally. There's a doctrine that says you come to us and you're not supposed to actually report against anyone higher than you in the church. You're not allowed to cause them any harm that way by reporting a crime or anything like that. You're not allowed to go to outside organizations for anything. Everything's handled in-house, so to speak. Scientology themselves brought forth this contract as to why they shouldn't be sued by the three accusers for obstructing them from getting their own justice, because they said that, well, there's this contract we have. They knew the rules. They knew what they had to do. Well, the women said that violated their personal rights and that they felt oppressed by it and that they were actually asking them to suppress a crime, which in contract law, any contract that's put forward that has somebody commit a crime or breaks the law in any way becomes null and void. Okay, but it gets messy here because this involves Scientology, which has been classified as a religion. Now, here's the problem. The court said, hey, you put the document in, they're allowed to use it. You can't say that it's a personal protected religious document now and that they can't use it. You actually presented it as evidence, then it's therefore there and they can use it because they used that document to get the statute of limitations lifted so that Danny Masterson could be prosecuted for these crimes. These crimes happened a long time ago, 2001 to 2003. All three women. So it's like a catch-22. It's a legal catch-22 going back. I was very pleased when the court upheld that, hey, yo, Scientology, you can't have it both ways. They said, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You don't get to use this document to protect you as to why, you did something a certain way and not let the plaintiff use the same document to say, hey, that's not right, that document, what you used against me to do that. That's the actual evidence as to why I felt oppressed, why I felt intimidated, why I wasn't allowed to come forward Okay, so it's a catch-22. But here is the scary part. The scary part is that Scientology has actually appealed the court, and they're bringing it to the Supreme Court. Yes, sit down. Sit down, everybody. Yes, Scientology is taking it to SCOTUS. And now we've got something to worry about. And I was going to talk about Masterson first, but since I'm already right there in the middle of the SCOTUS thing, with your permission, I think I'll just continue there. Let me just fix my setup to go backwards instead of forwards, and we'll carry on with that because this is lovely. You're gonna love this. You're gonna love this as much as I do. Yep. I say that with my tongue in my cheek. You can't see, like I'm biting my tongue as I say that, and I'm sure you can hear it in my voice. Yeah, that's genuine snark because this is unbelievable. This is I'm actually I'm nervous. I'll admit it because I've been following the SCOTUS rulings on quite a few things. If you've been watching my content, you know I'm following them on Roe versus Wade. I followed them on what they just did on gun control. I followed what they're doing on education for the last 8 or 9 rulings, which have been absurd. We'll be having a roundtable on that shortly. I'm trying to gather people with Americans that have experience in education, that have dealt with situations that are affected by these rulings. And we want to talk about it. And we want to talk about this scary future I see if this is allowed to continue this way. But yeah, hey, welcome, dog. Nice to see you. Hey, student. It's always nice to see you. I hope you're well, dude. We have to catch up. I want to catch up with you soon. But definitely, this is a hot mess. I know that. All right, I'm going to put this up for all of you that may not be aware. Scientology has a lot of stuff going on with it. But yes, you're right, Luke. Yes, you're right. The main man at Scientology is a man named David Miscavige, and his wife Shelley hasn't been seen for years. There's a lot of mystery around that. There's a lot of speculation. Some of you may know 3 main people that I follow in regards to looking at all of this about the Scientology, and that would be the Leah Remini, Mike Rinder, and please Tony Ortega. Go there. Get your information. They try to do the facts. Leah Remini was very brave in breaking out. So was Mike Rinder. They've got terrible stories to tell. They've got facts, they got evidence, and they do help others. The reason I picked those is because they are all involved in the stories of everybody else who's coming out of the Scientology situation. It's my apologies. I forgot to put the phone on mute. They definitely help others. They definitely want the stories out there. They try to keep the information clear, and they help fight, this is true. Will SCOTUS rule for a religion? This is my fear here, Turtle. This is the question. Will SCOTUS rule for a religion that's not mainstream? So let's just get to what actually, to be fair, I'm going to lay out the case that Scientology has so that you understand, because I don't want to be biased. I have my opinion about this, definitely, but I want to give you all the facts. I want you all to make up your mind yourself. I'm not going to try to persuade you in any way. So I have a few things that are just the key points. Rather than read the document, the very long, if you know anything, I will say this, biased or not, about Scientology. They are killing trees everywhere. There was more documentation filings in these 2 cases than I've ever seen in my life. Keeping up with them is killing my potato. It's killing me. It's wiping out whole forestry. The amount of paperwork that they're throwing at the courts. The courts have so much to deal with as far as motions and this and that and the other thing. Scientology lawyers are on it. Okay, they know how to bury you in the paperwork. I mean, by the time you get out from under it, you don't even know what year it is when you get there to Kate. But anyway, on that, let's move forward. So you'll understand why I just nut and bolted it for you, because I'm not going to read like that whole thing for thing. And hey, Robski, so glad you're here. All right. Here we go. So this is their appeal to the Supreme Court. We have already talked in a prior episode. I link all the episodes down below to the playlist. You can just search the word Scientology. You'll be able to find it in the title. For the last time that we covered this, when we went over when the court itself, the lower court, actually held up that document could be used by the plaintiffs because the defense, Scientology themselves, entered it into evidence. Okay, so they said no harm, no foul. We're going to be able to use it. Well, they said, hail to the no, we're not used to losing. Because I remember we had a little bit of a celebration here when that went through. It was one of the few times I've seen a court stand up to them and say, no, sorry, and it was a real gotcha. I mean, because after all, they submitted the document as evidence themselves. How could the other side not be allowed to use it? That's like hypocrisy. That is not how the law works. If it's in there, it's in there for everybody. You don't get to say how they use it just because you don't like what they said about it. That's what a pro and con system is all about. That's like you got this side and you got that side, and they're both allowed to have their opinion, and they are both allowed to go forward with it using the same document in different ways. That's the way it is. They had no control. They realized they had no control over the situation, and they're throwing a fit. So they did the lower appeal first. They lost that one. So now on to SCOTUS we go, to the state Supreme Court, okay, of the United States. They have decided to go with this case, and the three named are Chrissy Carnell Bixler, which what used to be Jane Doe number 1, and Cedric Bixler de Zavala, who is co-ing with her. And then there's Jane Doe number 1 and Jane Doe number 2. I'm sorry, Chrissy, I misspoke, was Jane Doe number 3, but she decided to publicly allow her name to be used. She renamed the document, and she came out. When they first accused Daniel Masterson of these rape allegations, okay, when they came out with these allegations, allegedly saying that he raped them during 2001 all the way to 2003, they all came out as Jane Doe. They were all fearful of the church and of Mr. Masterson. They all signed depositions to say so, that the reason they didn't come forward in a timely manner was because they were afraid of being labeled an oppressive person, and with what happens to an oppressive person about being kicked out, your whole family being not able to talk to you, losing your finances, everything. Like they were just fearful of the situation. This is the petition written by the Lawyers for Scientology. It is quite long, but here are the reasons that they're doing it. Okay, and let me just go over these. I know you can't read them as well as I can, so I'm going to read them out loud for you. Hey, Charlie, nice to see you. Hey, Kira, welcome. Related proceedings. In other words, why are we filing this? Okay, this case arises from and is related to the following proceedings in the Superior Court of California, County of Los Angeles, the California Court of Appeal, and the California Supreme Court. That's everywhere they tried to get their way and were denied. This is why we're here. Okay, from this case of Chrissy Carnell Baxter et al. Versus Scientology, there was an order granted to compel arbitration, which they lost. Okay, there was also an order summarily denying the petition for writ of a mandate. In other words, to suppress them using the submitted evidence. Order granting review and directing order to show cause to the issue, issuing order to show cause, ordering a supplemental briefing. They wouldn't allow them to speak on it. Granting petition and directing order denying the motions to compel arbitration. In other words, Scientology had a rule that said we always have to have arbitration. We don't go to court. We don't do that. We're like we do it inside with our own. And the court said no, they're allowed to go forward with this. We're going to go for a jury trial. Yeah, we don't have to do mandated arbitration in this case. It's not in the benefit of the petitioner. summarily denying petition for a rehearing and taking judicial notice of oral proceedings. In other words, they wanted to, just have the whole thing tossed aside. They wanted to do their oral arguments. They were trying to get a hearing again on something that was already done a motion on about the evidence, but it's all about this document. It's all about the rules, the doctrine that kept them from coming forward. Okay. And also summarily denying requests for another review. Now, they were actually granted an appeal. They looked at their application for appeal and said they didn't have enough to move forward. And this was the reason again. This was the reason again. Because they submitted the document as evidence and the plaintiff is using it for their case. Okay. They can't really pull it back now. And this is what they're trying to do. Maybe perhaps they realized it was a mistake, maybe because it's not going in their way, but you can't have it both ways. All of this is them saying, these are the things that we lost down there in those three courts. Now, did you notice? Not only the regular court that's hearing the case, but the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court of California all squashed this already. And yet they're still coming up here to SCOTUS. Like, they won't stop. There's a lot of money behind this. There's a lot of paperwork behind this. There's a lot of trees that are dying because of this. Here is the question that they present. Now, sit down. This is the scary part. This is why I don't like that it's up there at SCOTUS. I'm hoping that they do the right thing, because if they look at they're not allowed to really look at history or what a company is like or anything like that. They're only allowed to look at the law in regards to the case that they are addressing. And they have to address it by law only and the Constitution, period. Okay. So what is Scientology doing? They're throwing the Constitution right in their face with this one. Here's the question they present to SCOTUS. Where a parishioner freely executes a religious arbitration agreement with her church, the document, does the First Amendment prohibit enforcement of the agreement if the parishioner leaves the faith? Does the First Amendment restrict the terms on which a church may accept members into its faith? What they're saying is, are we not allowed to be arbitrary? Are we not allowed to condemn them if they leave? Are we not allowed to hold them responsible or to say, are we not allowed to punish them? They're trying to say that by using that document, we're judging that religion on how they treat their parishioners. And in a way, they may have a point. I'm not saying they're right. Don't come for me, YouTube. I don't like this at all, because it is a big gray area. They're trying to make it bigger than it is. They put something into evidence and then got pissed off it's being used against them. Now they're trying to say that the court is coming at them because it's a religion. That's not true. They made an evidentiary order. Okay, they based it on evidence and law, not on the fact that that was religious. They based it on the fact that a group, whether religious or not, was oppressing someone and kept a criminal offense secret, and kind of put that person in a position to hold that from reporting that criminal offense. That is what the issue is, not that Scientology is a religion. It is not suppressing their religious beliefs. I don't believe so, because religious beliefs should not be allowed to break the law. See, this is the scary part. If this goes through, are they saying that any religion, if this went through with SCOTUS, does that mean that any religion can put forward that you could break the law? Just as long as you're good with our rules, we're good with you. Doesn't matter what the laws of the United States say. You're allowed to break them because you're with us. That's crazy to me. That is so crazy. I'm doing everything I can not to lose my mind about this. Yeah, can you tell? Can you tell? And people want to know why I started to get more and more into what's going on with SCOTUS. It's stuff like this. Stuff that every day is affecting me. I feel so personally attacked by the Supreme Court over the last couple of months. I can't even tell you. As a woman they took away some rights that I had. I mean, I don't even have the autonomy of my own body anymore. Okay. They also, for education, they just made it almost impossible for my grandsons to get a decent education anymore. And that they may actually have to learn about a religion that's going to upset them, because it's going to be taught, because they're taking actual science and things out of the books and putting other things in there. It's going to affect. Okay. And in my state above me in New York, they actually said that someone is allowed now to enter my home if I lived in the state of New York with a concealed weapon and not notify me that they're carrying, and that they're allowed to enter crowds in places with lots of people, and they don't have to disclose anything or be, and made it a little bit easier for them to actually get licensed and to keep it a secret. That was scary. That was scary for me. All right. And so now they're going to tell me that anybody that belongs to a religion, which is a lot of people in the United States, is going to be able to break the law and not have to hold anything, because it's under a religious contract instead of like isn't a contract a contract? Yeah. Contract law says you're not allowed to make it a criminal offense. Okay, that's true. That's 101 contract law. You can have a contract as long as you're not forcing someone to break another law in the arbitration and the use of that contract. I'm not even a lawyer, and I know that. Now, come on. Just because you're Scientology, you get to say that? I don't think so. Robsky. L. Ron Hubbard must be laughing his imaginary sci-fi angel wingles off. Scientology is simply not. It is, because, if you know, this man who wrote this religion, created this religion from his own personal beliefs, was a sci-fi writer prior to that. I read the books. Okay, this is crazy. And then a religion was born. Okay, and when the first book came out, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was actually like I'm serious. I actually thought when I read that first book that was a pun. It was kind of like, when H.G. Wells did War of the Worlds, and everybody believed it over the radio that like aliens came down and attacked this town. Like, I'm serious. Like, that's the thoughts that I had. Serious. Crazy. Crazy, crazy. Oh, student, thank you. You know what? I've seen some lovely photographs of New Zealand lately, and gosh, is that beautiful. It's beautiful there. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. All right. So anyway, anybody have any questions about what they're doing here with this case? Because when the Supreme Court comes back in September, they're going to be listening to this one. Okay. Okay. I'm going through the comments now. I don't want to miss anything before we move on. If I did and you have a question and I missed it, just go ahead and retype it now, because potato's slow and I don't want to miss you. I don't want to miss it. Yes, Randy, welcome. And I agree with this comment here that says SCOTUS has been dismantling the wall of separation. Yes, they have, brick by brick. I'm seeing it. You see what I see. I am seeing it, and it's scary, because it is a foundation that keeps everything running smoothly. Because here's the thing. They originally said in the Constitution, some of you, the reason that we have separation of church and state is because you can't have church involved in these things because there's so much church. The purpose was not to penalize one religion over another religion, not to take one over the other, to allow everybody the freedom of all of their religions, okay, and let government operate separately without the interference of religion, depending on who was in office, their views taking over the views of, say, Muslims, or the views of Baptists over Anglicans, and over Mormons, and over born-again Christians, Jehovah's Witnesses, even Scientology, okay, just all of that. You're all allowed to practice any way you want, okay? And that was the purpose, is that there's no way to regulate religion into this without oppressing someone. And the key was to not oppress the religion. Okay. So to actually start putting it back in selectively based on certain religious opinions is very, very dangerous, because you're not only oppressing 70% of the United States, because although they believe in God, they all practice differently. They do believe that it needs to be separate, because common sense, if you're going to oppress somebody, okay, it's like the Protestant Catholic uh thing, it's all religion, you all believe in God, it's just how, when you cannot oppress one over the other, you cannot choose one over the other. Okay. And this was why it's written that way. So to weigh in on it like this for certain religions is crazy. It is. It definitely is. It's very scary. It is scary for me. I'm not liking it. It is something I never thought we were going to have to worry about. Mm. Dog. Let's face it, Scientology is an organization where megastars and megastars can commit their crimes and hide their money. Also, buy cheap bottom rodents. Okay. You know, most of that I agree with. They do, based on the doctrine, everything gets handled in the church, and apparently they're fine with a lot of things that we normally would not be fine with. Mm-hmm. It's true, Randy. Religions are not known for tolerance. This is true. Mm-hmm. This is, you know what? I understand this point. I'm going to read it. I'm not trying to incite riot here, but hey, Dog says, I blame the Constitution. A document that is hundreds of years old and has never been amended or updated will always be open to manipulation. Exactly. And even though they have tried with certain amendments, they have not been forthcoming in actually securing equality for all. Even though it says that the Constitution represents the freedom for life and liberty for all, it should actually state all and define all as to meaning women and LGBTQ and the underserved, the overserved, or everyone. Okay, everyone. All right, because maybe our forefathers thought that common sense was something that we would have in 2022, but apparently common sense is not the way that most people think anymore. You'd think I would not have to say, hey, my body. Would you try not to legislate my uterus? I mean, I'm not out there legislating your pancreas or your genital reproductive organs. Like, hey, hands off my uterus. Mine. Don't tell me what to do with it. But no, apparently I've got to fight now. I got to fight. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And I'm making light of it because it is very, very serious, because I don't want to get on a soapbox and my blood pressure go through the roof and I'll be screaming in that nasty Jersey tone I get, where you just don't even understand what I'm saying, because all of these expletives are coming out of my mouth, and I don't want to go there. So I'm going to take a little humor and go, are you effing kidding me? Really? You're kidding me? Like, what happened to common sense? What happened to actual common sense? Yeah, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So, yep. Luke, I agree too. It's not the 1700s anymore. Can we bring it up to date? Can we actually get people who are actually really good at constitutional law to start looking at it and make the language changes that are necessary on the premises that they meant to do, which were good, solid premises. Like, they really did try. They did a damn good job too. But nothing stays in stone. If you let something stay in stone and not grow and evolve with everything else, it dies out. It crumbles. It's going to go away. Okay, it's going to get worn away. And that's what's happening to our Constitution. It's being worn away with the constant rain, weather, and abuse, without changing, protecting it, re-clarifying, codifying it in a way that can be understood and used for 2022. Not misused, not mangled, not misinterpreted or manipulated to one's own purpose, but to actually benefit all the people. Because it's thoughts. Come on, it's for all the people. It's for everyone. Not to be used in such a way. Luke, I do not. Stop spreading such a terrible rumor. Not everyone from Jersey is a mobster. Can we just say that? Can we just can we just make that perfectly clear? Like, no, it's not true. Mm. But I am a bear with big opinions and a bad attitude about certain things. That I'll admit, Luke. Not the mobster thing. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Oh boy. All right. Okay. The Constitution is the reason these crazy religions are allowed. This is true. And that's why we do have to do more to hold the harm that some organized religions are doing. We need to hold that to legal bear. Like in this case with Scientology, this is harm to individuals. This is where something that they are doing is causing great harm and oppression, and it's not good for all the people. And it's going to be a hot mess because they're throwing that First Amendment thing out there, which I just, I don't think that's fair. And I do see that it's going to get a bit messy. It's going to get a bit messy. All right. So if we're done with the SCOTUS part, I'm going to go back and start with Mr. Masterson himself for the other half hour of this show. And we can talk more about the SCOTUS after I update you on this if you'd like. Mm-hmm. So basically, Danny Masterson is facing very old rape allegations from the three plaintiffs. Okay, they went and pressed charges against Masterson, and LA County looked at it. It was held off for a long time. But when they heard appeals in the grand jury from the three Jane Does who came and did testify, about why they didn't come forward in time, like within the statute of limitations, they were granted what we call, an extension on it. They were granted one of the loopholes that are in there, that if this or this happens, then we can extend it at the discretion of the prosecution. They came forward and they did it. It's very difficult to do that. It could be prejudicial to the defendant, Danny Masterson. Of course it is. Look how old these charges are. All right. 20 years old. One of them's 20 years old. 20, they're 20 years old. Come on. These are old charges. He's not, there is the thing that he's not the same person he was 20 years ago. Well, I get that. But you don't get to break the law this way and then not have it known about. I'm sure these women also feel like they deserve justice because they were wrongly oppressed by the church from even approaching it. They did tell the church about it. They felt oppressed. They felt the church didn't handle it appropriately and let him get away with it, and they want to take it further. And that's how this is all going about. The fact that the LA County actually came forward and pressed charges against Masterson, that's a big one right there. Okay. He's got a lot of legal. I'm sure they did not. I'm sure that surprised Scientology, as it did many lawyers, as it did many people watching the case. They didn't think that they were going to be able to get that through, just based on this, you know, uh, but let me get to the update. If you want to know more about the individual charges that were, as I said, the playlist is down below. To save time, I'm not going to go over the great teaser. I'm going to be just looking at the article a little bit now for you and giving you the updates of what happened within the last 6 weeks. I want to tie this into Scientology because these cases, although separate, Danny Masterson is facing criminal charges in California. Okay, for these allegations, whereas Scientology with Bixby versus Scientology into the Supreme Court and all of that, that is actually a separate civil lawsuit of the same three accusers that are being represented by the prosecutor here. The state is actually prosecuting Danny Masterson, not the three women. In a criminal case, the state says, yes, what happened to you is wrong and we're going to fight for you. And they're pressing charges he broke the law. The state is actually going against him here. However, the three women themselves filed a civil lawsuit with their attorneys against Scientology, the organization of the church, which calls under several different names, David Miscavige and Daniel Masterson, all for um, harassment, obstruction of justice, harassment, keeping them from going forward, actually supporting what happened to them, uh, a whole bunch of stuff like that. That is what the civil case is about. That's Tebet. And that's the one where the ruling happened that Scientology got all upset about, and that's why they are at SCOTUS now. Well, this right now that we're going to talk about is the criminal case. So just to keep those separate, everything that I'm talking about here only relates to the state of California versus Daniel Masterson. And they are representing the same three accusers from the other case. Okay, and they go by Bixby, the last name, and then Jane Doe 1 and 2. All right. So about 6 weeks ago, or more, actually more, 2 months ago, Daniel Masterson filed to change his attorneys. Okay, and when he went to do that, he actually he told Judge Almeida, Judge Charlene Almeida, who is the judge in this case, that he wanted to actually have Sean Howley and Philip Cohen become his new lead trial attorneys, replacing Tom Massaro and Sharon Applebaum, who were, you may know these famous names. These are famous attorneys. They actually represented Michael Jackson in his pedophile thing. When the court granted that switch, the new lawyers were asked for more time to prepare. So at that time, there was an order placed that Danny Masterson, who was supposed to actually go on trial starting in the end of August, I had it slated for coverage. Well, that's why we're doing this. I planned things ahead. I'm kind of like that. I wanted to start going over the evidence a couple of weeks before trial, which is why we're doing this update. However, I have to tell you, no trial at the end of August. Now the trial is already going into October. I believe it's going to be starting around the 11th from what I read. Okay. Now, Masterson pled not guilty to his charges of forcibly raping 3 women in separate instances in Hollywood, California, in his private residence from 2001 to 2003. If he's convicted of these charges, he's going to face up to 45 years in prison. California didn't mess around with this. Okay. In those lengthy arguments, they tried to also convince the court. Now, here's the thing. Here's the twist I want to report about. Danny Masterson's attorneys put a motion forward to try to say that Jane Doe number 2's claim wasn't as bad as the other two, so they wanted to separate it. That her accusations, because they didn't include slapping and beating, were less, and she didn't want her case to be part with their cases because it would be prejudicial to the jury and prejudicial to the client, Danny, that to be represented that perhaps he had treated her that way also, even though the main allegation is sex without consent. Okay, that should be just the factor there. They should be able to link the 3, that it was all done in his house. They were all in a relationship at the time. They all say that they didn't have consent and he did certain things, and other things all match up. Why can't it stay together? Just because he did not, the other 2 say that they were slapped and she said she was not slapped. That doesn't make any sense to me. But they tried. They went on for hours in the courtroom about it. They don't want them lumped all together. Because of this, they don't want this. They say it's the weakest of the 3. It should be actually separated because it's just, and in a way you can understand their point. They're fighting hard for their client because 3 people saying the same thing has a lot more weight than just 2. Okay, so, maybe they're worried that perhaps this one has, they're thinking it's going to tip the scales, it's just going to make it more prejudicial against it. They're probably right. 3 is more than 2, and serial requires 2 or more. So it does make it look like this is, kind of something that he does when you have more than one victim, more than one accuser, I should say, coming forward. Okay. they said that while Masterson apparently only became friends with her during this encounter, and they weren't in as long a relationship as the other two. That's another reason they wanted separated, that they weren't in the committed. But during her her witness testimony, Jane Doe said that Masterson immediately had done the same thing, like that she was inebriated. He said that he gave her a glass of wine, that he became very serious and commanding, started ordering her around, similar to the other two testimonies. He kept saying, if you don't do it, I'm going to do it for you. Things like this, trying to get her to things. He was acting like a drill sergeant, quote unquote, she said, using a domineering voice that's known in Scientology as Tone 40. Now, Tone 40 has come up repeatedly in the allegations of all of the women. Tone 40 comes up a lot in allegations that they use throughout Scientology. It is a technique. It's a commanding technique that they teach as you get higher up, and that you take control of the situation and to make others subservient to you around you. She said that she was actually the actual occurrence of assault occurred in his upstairs bathroom and bedroom, and that she was coherent enough, although limp and not able to control herself like a rag doll. She was enough coherent that she was pleading with him to stop. She had vocal control, but did not feel in control of her body. She was not in control of all of her faculties. She said she felt spent and exhausted and unable to actually move. Therefore, she believes that she was drugged with that wine. She said in her deposition, with another reason that they want to try to remove this case and separate it, was because she said that she didn't immediately report the attack to police because she feared becoming declared a suppressive person by the church, a label she described as being, as we all know, excommunicated, an outcast. You lose everything. Oh, she was afraid of this. She said they put you on blast when you're a suppressive person, quote unquote. And she reported, though she did come forward and reported the rape in 2016. And she did so after she heard about another victim coming forward. And she was very upset that somebody else had gone through what she did. Okay. They're trying to say that she's just a scorned person, a scorned lover who was so infatuated with Masterson. And when a relationship didn't actually occur after the event, she came forward with these allegations, which the judge is saying, no. The judge is not going along with it. Okay. Judge Almeida disagreed. The ruling at the end of the 3-hour hearing, where these guys just talked on these on nonstop about Jane Doe number 2 not being able to be part of the joint case, she said that all 3 counts related to the 3 accusers were properly joined. She said all involved the same alleged crime, and I think you may agree. What is the main crime here? I don't want to say the words again. You know what they are. That's what he's being accused of. That's what all 3 are saying he did. Why can't it stay together? It's a serial. Okay, I realize it's prejudicial to him, but hey, you did it 3 times. You have 3 people saying allegedly that you did it 3 times, so they're allowed to be joined. They all involve the same crime, related to actions close in time. They were close enough in time. We're talking about a 24 month period of time, 2001 to 2003. It's probably even less in months based on calculations. However, they're saying that they went one after the other as far as relationships, and it was a period of time that is all conjoined together with the events all going one after the other, and there's no reason it can't be conjoined. All right. She also said that they already also, you have to ask her into the fact, which is very damning for him, that all of the alleged crimes took place at the same place, his home, his residence, his personal residence. Okay. Judge Almeida continued to say, and I quote, "No one count is substantially stronger or weaker than the other." And she ruled this from the bench during there. She said, "There is cross admissibility of evidence." In other words, there's going to be evidence of one or the other that may pertain to it, and that should be allowed. She said that each Jane Doe made allegations of Masterson providing a drink that impacted them more than usual, initiating sexual content, and not taking no for an answer. Those are three things that, A, they're all in compliance with why can it be joined. Okay, the same crime. Judge Almeida also heard arguments on Masterson's still pending motion to dismiss the forcible rape count related to Jane Doe number 1 on the grounds that prosecutors waited 16 years to file. Now, of course, that is related to the other case, because the reason that they said that they could file this 16-year-old case was because they were held back by that contract. They were going to be labeled a suppressive person if they filed. They were told to only bring the allegations to the church. They did. The church did nothing. Scientology did not. Well, I won't say they did nothing. They did whatever they do amongst themselves, which was not satisfactory to actually get the crime addressed. The crime was never addressed. Only the complainers were. Okay. Jane Doe, they want to actually kind of get that one dismissed altogether. And the judge gave both sides more time to file additional briefs on that. Those briefs came through and they still haven't actually weighed in on them. I will get you more on that afterwards. But I do believe actually, no, I do have that. They denied the separation of Jane Doe 1 also. None of these cases are going to be separated. It's all going forth on October 11th. None are going to get separated. Not Jane Doe 1, not Jane Doe 2. Not getting separated. All right. They said that the reason, and actually in her actual motion, in the actual motions where they said, because they kind of gave the oral arguments and then they went through with final motions and gave all the precedents and made it longer and, said why they thought it should be separated. And she just came back with the same exact thing she said before, that it is the same crime in the same place with the same actual pattern of how it happened. And so, no, they're not separating any of it. And said in that one that since he'd already gone through state appeals, through the court appeals, through the state appeals, and they would all held up, that no, the statute of limitations was listed. That's why what claim has been filed. That's why the prosecutor thought there was enough here to go forward. They're confident they can go forward and things will be held up. They're not waiting for SCOTUS to weigh in, and they're going to trial on October 11th. Now, SCOTUS is due to weigh in before that, so we shall see what happens. Now, remember that Masterson was formally charged June 16th of 2020, which was a lot, 16 years for one of the cases. It's a long time. It is a long time. I get it. And I'm sure he is reeling that this is coming up. And they're going to use everything that they can to try to squash it. But so far, not good. Not happening. Not happening. Sorry. Okay. Here's the Superior Court one. This is the heading that Tony Ortega put out. This is the other case here for the Superior Court, because they're talking about stalking, libel, slander, physical invasion of privacy. They're talking about keeping them from filing charges against Danny Masterson, accusing him of rape. This is all about them preventing the Church of Scientology, preventing the three women from coming forward with their allegations. Oh, thank you, Dog, for coming and joining our membership as a murder minion. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Thank you very much. Hello, Arcanics. Thank you for joining us. And anybody else who's come in afterwards, I'm just going to pull this up here. I pretty much covered almost the whole hour. I'm going to go through now on the comments and see if you have any questions in regards to the other case. But let me put a better picture up because I don't want to look at the legal part. I spent, that's scary, right? Scientology's going to SCOTUS. Isn't that something? Going right there to the Supreme Court of the United States. Scientology. All on the end here, we'll get down. There's a better picture. We'll look at this one till the end. All right. So Mr. Masterson does have his hands full on both fronts. Scientology is involved in some way in both cases, as you can see. There's a lot of paperwork going back. He has very good attorneys that are doing their best. They're trying to get the cases separated, but that's not going to happen. Did get some delay, did get more time, which, that was granted because, with the change of lawyers, I can understand why they did that. That's not a problem at all. If you do have to change your lawyers, you want your lawyers up to speed and they need time to do things. So, they got that 6-week extension there. They moved that whole thing to October, which, it's still going to go fine and it's still going to be a jury trial. And we're going to go through in the civil case too. We're just waiting on SCOTUS on that one. So let's just see. Considering in the U.S. that women's rights have been almost taken back to burning witches, whose side will the jury be on, especially if they're all men? Well, number one, let's hope they're not all men on the jury. And number two, I don't know. I don't know. If you're talking about, which case are we talking about here, dog? If we're talking about the Masterson case, there are not many men that support that I know. Oh, maybe they just don't tell me because I'm a woman. I don't know. But I've got brothers, I've got ex-partners, I have a lot of friends. I talk about this issue a lot. One of the things I talk about a lot is the lack of consent in a power situation, in an inbound balance of power situation, where someone as powerful as Masterson is able to intimidate and conjure and kind of like, even though there's consent, there's not consent kind of thing. Same thing with a politician or a student and a teacher or something of that. We're dealing with that in the Manson case. There could be a little bit of that there. They tried to throw it up in the Depp Heard case, that he was so powerful that she didn't report, she didn't do this, she consented to everything because he was more powerful than she was. That didn't play in that case. But it's something I talk about a lot, and I talk with a lot of men, and I don't find any of them agreeing that the behavior of Danny Masterson or anyone like that is acceptable, and that should happen to women at all. That no is no, no matter when it happens, before, during, after. No is no. Now, I know that going after the fact is an issue. I get that. All right. This has a gray areas because of the length of time, because of nobody coming forward. And I understand that no one should be persecuted for something they did in the past because somebody changed their mind about how they feel about it. I get that. And that might be an issue. Okay. And I understand that. And that's a conversation that needs to be had and it needs to be legally proved. And this is what they're trying to do. They are trying to legally prove that, no, that didn't happen. I didn't change my mind about it. I just was forced to keep quiet about it, is what they're saying. Okay. And they're trying to prove that legally. So it's a slightly different conversation. But I get kind of where you're going with that, dog, and that is a fear that they're going to say that perhaps these women just changed their minds and they're all bashing. They're going to do like what happened to Johnny Depp, just to get mad and persecute him. But I don't really think that the prosecutors would do a criminal case based on that. Okay, they saw enough here. They saw that those women were held back from being able to get justice. They went forward with it. This is a little different. This is a criminal case. Okay, when we look at Manson, we look at Depp versus Heard. We look at Manson versus Evan Rachel Woods, or Manson versus Bianco, or Ashley Smith Morgan. Okay, any of those cases, different. It's different because they're not criminal. They're civil cases. It is not the state saying there's enough evidence here to prosecute that an actual crime happened. So in those civil cases, they feel like, you might have more to be able to present it that way. that perhaps they just changed their minds about something that happened in the past, this too also have to legally prove that there was a reason they didn't come forward ahead of time. They do. Okay. And no criminal charges, to be cleared, have been filed against Marilyn Manson in his accusations. No criminal charges were filed against Johnny Depp for his abuse or his alleged abuse, because he's not the abuser there, in my humble opinion. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, so let me look and see if there's some more. I do, you know what? I hate that I can't even think of that dog, that the jury could be full of Marjorie Taylor Greens. No, no, it can't. Because remember, both sides get to pick. Both sides get to pick. Okay. So let's just hope not. Okay. Hawkskull, welcome. How are you, sir? I can't wait for all the fundy Christians and SCOTUS using this as an excuse to remove religious statues from Scientologists. You know what? You would hope, but let's see. Let's see if they do or they don't. If they did, if they remove religious status from Scientologists, that would be something. That would absolutely be something. Hey, Lisa. Welcome. Long time no see. Hey, Colin. Nice to see you here too. I'm sorry I missed anybody else in chat. I'm just going to look through for some more questions, try to address everything for you guys. Yeah. Okay. Arcanics. Few people outside the cult of rich, you know what he wants to say. Have much time for them and their crap, as long as they can't get their cult members on the jury. I can't imagine Masterson getting much support there. I can't either. Really, it's going to be very difficult. Because of the three, because of the type of allegations that they are, to get an unbiased jury. Although I do hope that they will get those that will consider the law, because absolutely we don't want an appeal. We don't want any overturns. We want straight law. Well, we saw that. It was also hard in the defamation case of Depp versus Heard. Not to bring that up again, but it is something you all may be familiar with. So it's a great example, because that jury had to be unbiased also, and they had to actually ask questions on how they felt about domestic violence and sexual assault, because it was going to come up and it is going to get addressed. So they'll see anyone who's been through it themselves and or has a family member. They may not be able to sit on the jury because they would maybe considered bias. Anybody that's been accused of it will not be able to sit on the jury because they could be biased. Okay. So hopefully they do a good job. Usually in the jury selection process, that's all worked out. Both sides, the point being that both sides get an opportunity to go over the questions with every juror, and they actually do this process together. Okay, all out in the open, all together. And they all know the questions that are being asked. They know the answers that each side is getting. And they can make their decisions based on that. And there's going to have to be some compromise too. Okay. I know. I'm looking at everybody talking about Denzel Washington. What are you talking about? Denzel in The Enforcer, where he just does that whole, he's like Mr. Justice or something. Yeah. Mm. It has been, Colin, I agree with this statement right here. If anybody wants a good anybody who's watched the Depp Heard trial, if you just want to go over there to Tenenbaum's Twitter for a little while and just take a good read. But I suggest you be sitting down when you read it on nothing like, spittable, no drinks or anything around. You might spill them. Oh, it's a hot mess. I mean, talk about absurd. That's what I want to say. The word is absurd. The word of the day, Colin, is absurd. Like, I can't believe the stuff I'm reading out there today. And then I had to to cover this, which is also absurd. Like that's the word of the day. Totally. Oh, this is going to be my 24 hours for sure. So here we go. In university, we had to watch this video about consent. You wouldn't give tea to someone who said no tea. Yes, there was an animation of a passed out woman being forced tea. It's on YouTube somewhere. I get it. I get it. And you know what? Education is part of making sure that people actually understand, you know, uh, why, okay, and the limits. And, that's got to start at home. That's got to start with us raising our young men and women appropriately with the guidelines, and also to not be extremists. I mean, we still want people to be able to date. We still want people to be able to have relationships and not worried about getting, all these offenses put on them later. But how about some conversations? How about just, open up the dialogue, have the conversation, have the respect there, communicate, and to prevent problems in the future. That's basically what consent is going to be boiling down to. Oh, this is true. Hmm. Oh, I'm glad you're staying busy. I love all the colorful hard talks. School. I miss seeing them so much. We're not in the same streams lately. And I'm glad you're doing well, sir. You, you, I do not earn enough to be of interest to Scientology. I'm sure I don't. But then again, I mean, just the key word. But I'm not really afraid because I'm not doing anything. I'm not bashing them. I'm trying to be fair. I do have my own personal opinion. I'm entitled to it, but I'm also just presenting facts. I am not putting anything out there that's not true. I am not putting anything out there to slander them in any way. I'm not really worried. Um, to be sure. I thought I've already addressed the rich guy cult. Rich people use the church to launder their riches to save them paying tax. More proof that religion is a money-making scam. Um, I'm sure there are plenty of organizations in religion that are like that. Okay. And I'm just going to say that I'm not going to say that people can't participate in organized religion. I do see damage there that happened personally to myself and within my family and etc. But I'm not going to say that everybody doesn't have a right to choose their own religion and practice it the way that they want. I will stand my ground, though, on being permitted to break laws or being separatist enough that we have to make separate laws just for you to be able to do that. That's not really fair because, we've got to consider greater good. We are a country, after all, not a religious organization. We are a country of people from all over. We are a country of people with many different religions, many different political beliefs, many different personal beliefs, okay? And trying to find that balance means we can't put one over the other, okay, at any time. And even, and we have to kind of use some common sense here. And it's a shame that people are weaponizing the good things about our country: freedom, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, life and liberty, bearing arms, being able to protect ourselves against undue harm, and are weaponizing it to make our country one hell of a hot mess. Yes, I said it. And no, I am. It's not that I am not un-American. I am an American. I have lived here my whole damn life. I am proud to be an American. What I am also educated enough. I got half a brain. And when I say hot mess, I mean hot mess. Yes, we're heading towards what can only be a very tumultuous and desperate time in our country because we are weaponizing all of the good things to hurt other parts of our own countrymen. And that's wrong. And that's my soapbox for the day. So there you go. All right. Any more questions? Church of the Equalizer. Yes, I get it, but that you could break some laws. You could break some laws there. I wouldn't do it. Don't do it. The Church of the Fawns is a good way too. Peace and love. And I know, Hawk. You know what? But I have to tell you, Hawk Skull, I'm more on Australian time. You know, I know. I know. Yeah, I'm not on the line, but I'm around. We could talk. We'll catch up. We'll catch up. There are plenty of poor people who are in Scientology. They work 80 hours a week and all their money goes to the church until they go clear, which is a six-figure sum. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can bash them, Arcanics. Crazy tax avoiding cult of wankery squared. Yes, yes, you can. Yes, you can bash them all you want. I actually agree with that statement. He's crazy. That's the other thing here. We're allowed to actually call it out the way we see it. Yeah. Student, that was something I was thinking of. When trying to split them into separate ones, they were trying to go into double jeopardy. They don't want all the evidence, a strong case submitted. And that's why I'm kind of happy that the judge stood her ground. She pointed to all of the things that they had in common, and she's well within the law to keep them all together. There's strong precedents there, and I'm glad she definitely stuck to it. Because you're right. That would actually give him an unfair advantage. Stuff would be tossed out left and right. And that's not fair. All right. Well, on that, everyone, that is our legal update for the week. What we've got coming up is on Wednesday. We have an Am I the Asshole with Juju B. You may know her from the YouTube streets. She's pretty funny. She just started her own channel. She's over on Instagram. Great sense of humor. And I'm looking forward to it. I'd like to just also put out there that if anyone would like to do an Am I the Asshole, it's just one-on-one. You don't have to have a huge YouTube channel. You don't have to be like out there well-known or anything. If you just want to, come on. You have an avatar. There's no camera on my channel. You just need to be able to connect through StreamYards, which is one of the easiest things to do with even a phone or a laptop or even a pad, of any type. As long as you have internet access, you should be able to do it with access to a mic. They're fun conversations. We read the Reddit. We read people actually asking the question, am I the asshole? And we get to tell them. And it's kind of fun. You don't have to be all out there. You just get to give opinion on what the person is asking about. Same as if you read it. Only we do it with the chat, and we all vote. We've got some fun voting mechanisms. So we run some fun polls here and there. But hey, it can be fun. So let me just put it out there to everybody who's listening, anybody in the chat, anybody comes across this later. Hey, I'm an equal opportunity channel. And these things work with another person. Like, I would read them myself. That could be fun, but it is much more fun to get the opinion of another person involved. I like bouncing off someone else, And Lisa, thank you. I'm glad you missed chatting in here. You're welcome anytime. I did. I didn't change my name. I'm still the bear, but the channel name changed. I actually branded the channel as its own name, separate from myself. I am still Claire Bear, as you see up there. The channel is called Clear View. And YouTube makes you use the name of your channel when you're using for talking and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Okay, on that, I'm going to say goodbye, everybody. I'm also going to ask you to please, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you haven't liked the video, please go down there and like the video. I mean, you're here, you're watching it. Even dislike the video if you dislike the video. I mean, you're here and you're watching it. Give me your opinion. Like, dislike. Hey, while you're at it, go a little farther and put a comment on there. Tell me how you really feel. Pro or con, I'm going to listen. I don't really delete comments. I do delete the bot things. Yeah, I do. And if you tear up anybody else, I might, for their protection, delete it. But I'm open for the conversations. If there's something else you want me to cover in regards to legal drama or true crime, hit my DMs. I am talking to quite a few of you about some other cases that we're interested in, but right now you guys know the hot ones here, and I'll be seeing you next Monday, 4:00. Hope this time is working for you guys. Like I said, subscribe, like, comment, and I'll see you all on Wednesday, hopefully, for AITA. That'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good night.